Degradation of facts of life. Welcome to prison.
It depends who's telling the story, I suppose. The prisoners would have one view, the people who work in the prison system would have another, and I think it's up to people to decide where the truth is.
Give government propaganda and the media spin doctors the flick. And check out Doin' Time for news, views and tunes on prison issues from Guantanamo Bay to Christmas Island to prisons and detention centres everywhere. Every Monday at 4 p.m. on your community radio 3CR.
We are still fired up and we're still talking about revolution.
Hello and welcome to the Doin' Time show. This is 3CR Community Radio, 855 AM on the dial, streaming live on www.3cr.org.au. This is Marissa and I'll be taking you through until 5 o'clock this evening. First up on the show, we're going to be speaking with Sam Lee, who is the solicitor heading up the police accountability practice at Redfern Legal Centre, and we'll be speaking with her shortly. Next up, we'll be speaking with Meg, who is an Aboriginal activist, an activist for Aboriginal rights, and we're going to be speaking with her about a group that she's in that is trying to stop the expansion of women's prisons and trying to stop Serco, who is a private company that's quite lethal, in fact, trying to stop Serco from starting up those prisons. Thirdly, we'll also be speaking with Lucy Honan from the Refugee Action Collective, and we'll be speaking with her about a very important meeting to try to bring the asylum seekers and refugees home, and looking at that, at those specifics later on in the show. So just before we speak to Sam, just wanted to give listeners, a very quick intro. So just a quote from the media release of the Redfern Legal Centre, a call to end predictive police targeting children as young as 10. Redfern Legal Centre is calling for an end to a New South Wales policing practice known as the Suspect Targeting Management Plan, a hidden blacklist used by police to target children as young as 10. The call comes after the Director of Bureau of Crime Statistics, Mr. Don Weatherburn, has publicly identified the STMP practice as a reason for the dramatic jump in the increase of the New South Wales prison population to almost 14,000 this year, from less than 10,000 in 2012. Mr. Weatherburn has told the New York Times in an article titled "For These Australian Prisoners, a 14-month wait without being sentenced," that aggressive policing like the STMP is a reason for this increase. Sam Lee, solicitor heading up the police accountability practice at Redfern Legal Centre, states, "The STMP sets young people up for failure, branding them with a potential criminal identity and plunging them into a toxic cycle of ongoing police interactions." And I wanted to actually speak about that in the lead up to the interview, and I will actually clarify with Sam about some of that terminology and unpack and demystify this issue. Hello, Sam. Hello, Sam.
Hello,
welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
Lovely to have you. Yeah. Sam, this is Marissa, and I'll be taking you through the interview. Great to have you on the program.
Thanks very much.
So, Sam, I'm wondering if you could just introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your work, and then perhaps talk to listeners about what's been going on with this police practice. What's going on here?
Sure. So I head up what's called the police accountability practice at Redfern Legal, which is in New South Wales. It's a statewide service, and it takes in a whole gamut of different issues, from police searches to random breath testers to mobile phone searches to fines, various issues that come in through the practice. And our aim is to help people sort through what may be an abuse of power and to give them the means to complain or to look at some tortious action if required.
Sounds familiar, police complaints, eh? Yeah.
Yes.
So in 2017, I believe that a report was released by Vicky Sentis, and indeed we've interviewed her on our show. and I believe she's the convener of the RLC Police Powers Clinic. Can you talk to us a little bit about that report?
Yeah, so Vicky has done a lot of work into the suspect targeting management plan, and the report looks in depth at how this management plan is utilised by police. It also looks at the fact that it targeted particular groups in society. It found that around 50% of those on what we call the blacklist are Aboriginal. There's been around 1,800 on the STMP over the past 2 years, and about 20% of those on that blacklist have been children. So our particular concern is that what we call the STMP targets children, what we know now as being as young as 9. And what I mean by target is that police identify, say, a young person as being a potential criminal in the future, or at risk of becoming a criminal in the future. And so the police make continual interactions or monitor that person on the basis that they will prevent crime. Obviously, the alarming problem with that is that these young people haven't even committed a crime before they're put on the blacklist, and will be entrenched into the criminal justice system unnecessarily and will have detrimental impact on their lives.
So Aboriginal people have been over-incarcerated now for many years. This targeting sounds to me like it's 1788 all over again. You know how you had the convicts, coming over just for stealing a loaf of bread.
Yeah, it is. It's an incredible look in regards to policing in New South Wales, and as you said, it goes back to the bad old days, particularly in relation to Aboriginal people. You'd think that we'd moved forward since that time, but these particular types of programs entrench people, or in this case young people, into a criminal justice system, and makes it very difficult once in there to get out of there.
Sam, could you it's interesting, you were commenting before about the fact that the children haven't even committed a crime and they're on this blacklist. How do they actually get onto it in the first place? How are they picked?
It's a good question, and I know Vicky has tried to ascertain that answer. It's a lot of issues around the lack of transparency of this program, and it's something that Redfern Legal has been calling for, is that we want the program to be transparent. We'd like those who are on the blacklist to be told that they're on the blacklist, and to be told why they're on the blacklist, and also to be given the option to be taken off it. At the moment, everything is fairly secret and behind closed doors, and for that reason in particular, it's a very hard program to challenge, and for persons on it to try and get off it.
Absolutely. It sounds, and I don't want to make assumptions here, but it sounds like it could actually leave things open for racial profiling.
No doubt about it, and that's a major concern for us here at Redfern Legal. I mean, no one wants young people going out committing crime, of course, and we all want young people to be nurtured and given the opportunities that they deserve, and to make sure that they have the support they need in the community. This type of program, as far as any research has done on it, has shown, is that it does not prevent crime. And what we're calling for is that if we want young people to be prevented from committing crime, then we want programs that have been well researched and well founded to be have a good outcome for young people in the community. This program has found not to be producing the outcome of reducing crime, and has found to have detrimental impact on those who are on it.
And not to mention adding to the prison population, and also about police investigating police.
all those issues, yes, come into the light in regards to this program. I mean, it's appalling that the number of young people and adults in custody, the majority still being of Aboriginal descent. In 2018, it's a shameful figure, and these types of programs, the aggressive type of policing, will only mean that that type of statistic will continue on to the future.
Indeed, it's a national disgrace, Sam, and I want to commend, the Redfern Legal Centre and keep up the good work.
Thank you, and thank you for your support.
That's great. Any final comments you wanted to make, Sam?
Look, everyone has a right to go out there in society and have the support and the nurturing to make the most of their life, and this type of program detracts from that whole value in society.
Have they already put it in?
It's already been in place for a number of years now.
Yeah, it's interesting how, the mainstream media doesn't talk about this stuff, does it?
No, but that's right. That's great that you're out there trying to spread the word.
Well, that's why people need to listen to the Doin' Time show and support 3CR, because we actually do a lot of work that is not apparent in the mainstream media, and we have transparency. So let's call on the New South Wales Police Minister, the Honourable Troy Grant, MP, to put an end to this very dangerous practice, isn't it, Sam?
That's right. We fully support that. Thank you for your time.
Thanks a lot. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
And that was Sam Lee from the Redfern Legal Centre, and she heads the police accountability practice at the centre, and we were speaking to her about a very dangerous practice that's already been in place for children as young as 10. And we talked a lot about racial profiling and the possible abuse of police powers. It's approximately 4:11. And we're going to be interviewing Meg shortly, Aboriginal activist, and talking to her about women's prisons and the fact that Queensland want to build new prisons. But in the meantime, I'm actually going to be putting on some music. And this song is called Life is Worth Living by Art. And you're back with the Doin' Time show, and we'll be speaking with Meg shortly, who's an Aboriginal activist, and she'll be introducing herself formally in a minute. But before I do that, just wanted to give a very quick intro. Meg is from Gatton Women's Prison, and it's a group based in Meanjin in Queensland, working towards stopping the Queensland Government from expanding the prison industry and allowing Serco to run its first women's prison in the world. So we'll be talking to her about the aims and objectives of the group and having a look at her recent arrest as well. Hello, Meg. Welcome to the program.
Hi, how you going?
Great to have you. So, yeah, Meg, I'm wondering if you could just formally give yourself a little bit of a brief introduction and talk a little bit about the group and what's been happening.
Yeah, my name's Meg Aboriginal. I'm a Koori from down Victoria originally. Jadwa Mod from West Victoria.
Awesome.
But I've been in Brisbane about 2 years now.
Yep.
And part of Warriors of the Aboriginal Resistance, and we've kind of just started this new group called No Gatton Women's Prison. So just kind of started that group up recently, last few weeks.
Wow. And you're calling on the Queensland Government to have a moratorium on prison expansion in Queensland, is that right?
Yeah, that's one of the things we're asking for.
What else?
Well, we don't really think there's any need to move women from Brisbane Women's to Gatton because there's like we estimate about 40% of the women at Brisbane Women's on remand. So we're calling on the government to invest more in the Supreme Court bail programs that are running to get eligible women out on bail. And we're also opposing Serco running that prison.
Absolutely.
For anyone, the men or the women.
Yep. Because they've already made a mess of all the asylum seeker prisons.
Yeah, massive. It's horrible what they've done there.
Despicable.
And Yarlwood, I don't know if you saw those demonstrations as well.
Which one, sorry?
Yarlswood.
Oh, yeah, I think yep.
Yeah.
Meg,
So
it's pretty crazy.
Track record.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. And, you know, I'm sure you know this already, but Aboriginal women, for instance, have been the very highest statistic. Sorry, I hate to use that word, but it's true, isn't it? That, you know, that they have been over-incarcerated. And there's no diversionary programs, not to mention, correct me if I'm wrong here, culturally appropriate programs and Aboriginal-related women's services.
Yeah, there's a real lack. We see it up here, especially in terms of rehab. There's a massive lack of rehab facilities, but also it's just that, like, the racialised policing that happens and the disparity in sentences for white people and for black fellas, not just Aboriginal. Like, the prisons up here are packed with black bodies. Like, I think it's 36% Aboriginal women, maybe a bit higher in Brisbane women's, but there's also a lot of other women of colour there. Yeah,
it's pretty gross. And what happened to you, Meg? There was a protest with the group?
There was a bit of a direct action. So they've been transferring women daily from Gatton and from Townsville, from Brisbane Women's and Townsville to Gatton. So we blocked one of the transfer vans from leaving the prison out at Gatton. So, yeah, just to try and get the issue some media, because I don't think people realise what was happening.
Yeah.
So there was 4 of us, 3 Aboriginal people and 1 ally. Locked to each other and formed a chain across the road and held it up for about, I don't know, it wasn't the whole day. It was only, I think, about 3 hours in the end, because they ended up just dragging us off the road.
Yeah. And what were you charged with?
Just contravening a police direction. Yeah.
Have they organised a court case?
They were going to charge us with...
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the 24th, I think, or the 23rd, whatever the Monday is.
And where is the court case, Meg, being held in case people want to come and support?
It'll be at the Gatton courthouse.
Okay.
Yeah, first thing in the morning, yeah.
Yeah, well...
4 of us got charged. They were going to charge us with obstruct police, but they ended up just charging us with 1. So that was pretty good.
Well, that's good, but you know, we can't. I think you made a very valid point before that there's so much over policing, isn't there, of Aboriginal people, and really, in terms of the women inside, even when they get out, what sort of services do they actually have? You know, one of the things that we do on this show, go on.
The housing is the biggest issue.
Yep.
Because I've also been doing work with criminalised women for a while.
Yep.
But now I'm just kind of focusing on the activism element. But, like, one of the biggest issues we had was finding appropriate housing for women, and also child safety stuff. It's like, it's absolutely appalling up here. I suppose it's appalling everywhere, but the way that just destroys women's souls, you know, having their children removed when they go into prison or after getting out.
Yeah, they remove the children, don't they, and then don't do any reunification.
Oh, reunification is a very, very long process if it ever happens, yeah. We see a lot of women that, you know, they've just got to jump through all these unattainable hoops to get their children back, and they pretty much make it impossible.
I was about to say that...
which is really sad.
Absolutely. I was about to say too, Meg, that before, one of the things we do on this show is look at all that, is to have look at women in prison. And because to me, not just to me, you know, in women's prisons, there are less services than men. Yeah. Well, one of our concerns is that Gatton is like a good hour and a half drive without traffic from Brisbane.
So I don't know what services are going to be operating in there, but it's a long way from, I assume there'll be less than Wacol, the Brisbane Women's. Yeah. Which is alarming. It's also, there's no public transport for families to go out and visit. And I really doubt Child Safety will have the resources to take kids out there on visitation. So that'll be interesting to see what happens there.
Child unsafety, you mean?
Yeah, some people call them the Department of Child Stealers.
Yeah. Stolen Generation, number 2. It's approximately 4:25 and you're listening to an interview with Meg, Aboriginal activist in Queensland. We've only got a couple of minutes left, but Meg, I'm wondering, you've got some great demands here for the group, calling on the Queensland Government to immediately sever ties with Serco and cease the privatisation of prisoners in Queensland. And you also, as you've just explained, you work in solidarity with women currently in prison on bail and who have previously been incarcerated. And you believe that the Queensland Government should be investing in diversionary programs, housing, health and education. Yeah.
And I suppose it's probably important for me to mention too, though, that a lot of women are willing to be transferred to Gatton, because Brisbane Women's is at 200% capacity. So, and it's been overcrowded for a long, long time, and we can understand
of course,
them wanting to move, but it's not necessary for a new prison to open up if they just address some of these the failings of the system in terms of getting people out on bail and getting that process started. I think they could reduce the numbers dramatically.
Absolutely. Meg, it was great.
It's important to mention that.
It is important. It's so good to have you on. Is it okay if we call you again to come back on sometime in a month's time?
Yeah, I'd love that. That'd be good.
Be great.
I might do a shout out to
go.
For our Chuffed fund that's up and running at the moment. And it's solely for accommodation, so women are eligible for bail.
Okay, and what do you need to do to donate to that fund, just very quickly?
The link's just up on our Facebook, No Gatton Women's Prison.
Fantastic.
We don't have a website or anything like that yet, but that's our number one priority at the moment, is trying to fund that support to get women out.
Good on you, Meg. Well, thanks so much, and also a shout out to the warriors of Aboriginal resistance as well.
Yeah. Yep. Deadly worth it.
Deadly.
Everyone's doing around the country. Yep. All right. Well, thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks so much. Take care, and we'll have you back soon. Thanks, Meg.
Okay, cool.
Okay, bye.
Right, bye-bye.
And that was Meg, Aboriginal activist from Queensland, speaking about Gatton, which is a group that is trying to stop the expansion of women's prisons. We're going to be speaking shortly with Lucy Honan from the Refugee Action Collective, but first I'm going to put on an announcement and a song.
In 2016, 3CR published a book to celebrate the station's 40th birthday.
Years in the making, Radical Radio, celebrating 40 years of 3CR, is a visually stunning account of the people and ideas that make up this dynamic station.
At 300 pages, the book includes hundreds of images and over 50 features on programs, people, music and technology from across the decades.
3CR's Radical Radio book is now on sale for just $30.
You can get your copy of 3CR's book at the station during business hours at 21 Smith Street, Fitzroy.
Or online at 3cr.org.au/shop.
Get a piece of your own history.
On sale for just $30.
3CR's Radical Radio is available now.
And you're back with the Doing Time show, and that was actually Kev Carmody, and it was called Shall Not Be Moved. It's approximately 4:31, and we're going to be speaking shortly with Lucy Honan from the Refugee Action Collective. And before we actually speak with her, I'll quickly advertise the public meeting that we're going to be talking to her about, and then I'll do it again at the end. So on September the 22nd, it's a public meeting, and I will check pronunciation with Lucy in a sec. Don't Deport Huyen. And as I said, it's hosted by the Refugee Action Collective. And this meeting is on Saturday, September the 22nd at 2 p.m. to 5 p.m. And it's at Footscray Community Arts Centre, Victoria, Australia. And the speakers include Paul Lee, which is Huwen's husband, Isabella's father, Hung Trung, Greens MLC for Western Melbourne. And basically, just very quickly, the Vietnamese asylum seeker Huyen is facing deportation and indefinite separation from her baby, Isabella, and husband, Paul. And Huwen is now in Mita detention centre with her daughter, and there are no legal barriers to her deportation. Hello, Lucy. Welcome to the program.
Hi, Marisa. Thank you.
Thank you. Great to have you. Now, you probably just heard me advertising the meeting and talking a little bit about what's been going on. What's the pronunciation like here? How do you pronounce it?
Huyen.
Huyen, that's it?
Yes, that's right.
Excuse me. Okay, so that's Huyen. So what's happening with Huyen, Lucy? And can you talk to us just a bit about the background and why you're holding the meeting?
Sure. Okay, so Huyen is a Vietnamese asylum seeker. She came to Australia fleeing persecution in Vietnam in 2011. People might know that Catholics are still very seriously persecuted, particularly in some provinces in Vietnam. And Huyen fled that persecution, as have quite a few Catholic Vietnamese people over the last couple of years. She came in 2011. She was in detention for quite a long time, and a long series of different situations. She was transferred between detention centres. She actually fled detention at one point because there were a group of Vietnamese asylum seekers being prepared to be deported. The government was preparing to deport this group of people. So her and a group of Vietnamese asylum seekers fled and kind of dissolved into the community, if you like, where she's been living for a long time. And she's actually living in St Albans in Melbourne, and married her partner Paul last year, and they had a beautiful daughter, Isabella. She's a gorgeous little girl. But when she was 7 or 8 months pregnant, she was picked up by the government. They traced her down and took her back into detention, and they decided to deport her, or attempted to deport her at 8 months pregnant. So they loaded her onto a plane ready to be taken to Vietnam, and it was just last-minute action by a very sympathetic worker who just basically said, this is not on, you can't do this. Yeah. And she was loaded off the plane, taken back into Broadmeadows Detention Centre. She's since had the baby, Isabella, but Paul and her are separated indefinitely. It was their wedding anniversary yesterday. Paul has to visit. He doesn't have to, but he can only visit after work every day. He can't spend any private time with his wife and his daughter and get to know his daughter. And Isabella and Huyen are really suffering in detention. As you can imagine, it is no place for a baby, and it's no place for a mother. Huyen is really struggling, actually, raising a daughter on her own. She's stuck in an accommodation centre on her own. She has no assistance at all. 24 hours a day, it's just her and Isabella. And while she has guards watching her 24 hours a day, those guards are not allowed to help her. So, for example, when she has a shower, they're not offering to help hold Isabella. She's got to strap her into the stroller. It's eroding.
That is absolutely disgraceful, Lucy.
That we know.
That's disgraceful.
It is. It's really quite shocking, except that we know that this happens so often, and this is just a kind of normal result of Australia's brutal detention and deportation policy. So, as you said earlier, Huyen is facing deportation. Isabella's actually connected to her father's visa. Her father's on a 457 visa. So if and when Huyen is deported, and there's no legal barrier for her not to be deported, she will be deported to Vietnam and unable to connect back with Paul and Isabella unless through very, very, miraculous circumstances. That will be Australia's legacy in destroying the connection in that family.
So, Mr. Peter Dutton, the Minister for Home Affairs, he's got the power to grant her permanent protection, doesn't he?
He does, just as he, it's like the situation with the au pairs and the polo players. He's able to intervene. It's on him. He could, with his discretionary powers, say, you know what, this is a really ridiculous decision to put this woman in detention and deport her. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to say that she has permanent protection. And honestly, she has not even been allowed to make a statutory claim for refugee status. He has not even to make that claim. She's been through a very cursory process that assessed whether or not she has the right to make a refugee claim. So currently, he could even at a bare minimum lift that bar, and he's not doing that. He's looking at au pairs and polo players.
Unbelievable.
And obviously trying to win control of the Prime Ministership. That's his other pet project at the moment. But, yeah, that's where things are.
And we won't even mention the Prime Minister himself. Yeah.
Well, he's got his own legacy of this horrendous stuff. He was the Immigration Minister before Dutton.
That's exactly right. So, Lucy, just so that we can make it easier for listeners to understand all this paraphernalia and rigmarole, because indeed that's what it is, can we backtrack then? So just to talk about the fact that in the first place, this mother, Huwen, who's facing deportation, so she was out in the community at first, wasn't she?
Mm-hmm.
And what visa was she on then?
She wasn't on a visa.
She wasn't on a visa.
So she didn't have a visa. She came to Australia seeking asylum.
By boat?
And yes, that's right, by boat.
Okay.
And as I said earlier, she was quite terrified, as quite a few Vietnamese people were at the time, that they were going to be deported without even a blink of an eye, and so they fled the detention centres and dispersed into the community. And she was actually, like a solid member of the community. She was working, she was paying taxes, she had a relationship, she was a member of her church community. She was a fantastic other normal member of the Vietnamese Australian community until, she was detected by the department and they decided to punish her for having sought asylum.
So she sought asylum and she was allowed into the community initially?
Let me think. She was she in the community when she disappeared? No, I think she was. Look, I'll have to check that one.
Yeah, no. It's just to know a bit about
Adelaide.
Oh, I was in Adelaide. That's all right. No. Okay, so when you guys first heard of her, she was in the community, and then the department picked her up while she was pregnant, and
that's right,
and tried to put her on the plane to deport her, and then she was placed in Mita, and her husband was visiting her. He submitted to drug tests, metal detectors, and elaborate application forms to visit them after work each day. And so Isabella has, tell me if this is correct, has inherited her father's 457 visa status, which means, like, he's Mauritius Chinese, I believe, isn't he?
That's right, yep.
And which means that if Huwen is deported, then she is separated from her child and her husband indefinitely.
That's correct. Yep.
And at the moment, she is rotting in Mita, while the department is freeing polo players and nannies.
That's correct.
So can you tell us a little bit about the aims and objectives of the meeting and some of the speakers that are going to be happening, and advertise the meeting for us?
I'd love to. So on the 22nd of September, we're having a meeting in Footscray at the Community Arts Centre, and Paul, her husband, and Isabella's dad is going to speak. We're actually one of the victories, and it is actually quite an important victory of the refugee movement, is that now it's legal for refugees to have phones and phone access inside detention, which means that we're going to be able to Skype in Huyen herself for this meeting. So she's going to be able to contribute and hear and see that there are a lot of people supporting her, and hopefully there will be, quite a few members of the community coming to show their support for her. So those two will be speaking, as well as Hung Trung, who is a Greens MLC for Western Melbourne, I believe.
Yep.
So she's going to be speaking in support of Huyen, and hopefully what we can do is get some discussion going, both about what they've been through and, the situation that they face, and get everybody clarified about the details of that, and then talk about how we can build support for this family so that it is just absolutely politically impossible for them to be deported. So part of the inspiration that I think we should draw on is the way that the Billa community has really galvanised around Kopika, Tharanika, and the parents, the Tamil family from Billa in Queensland. I think that's the kind of thing that Melbourne and people in Footscray, St Albans, around Western Melbourne in particular, but anyone in Melbourne could be doing around this family, to show them our support and to really throw Gatton on the back foot in terms of any efforts on his part to deport them. I think one aim is to ensure that they're not, that Huyen is not deported, but a very, very urgent aim is to get them out of detention. And in fact, all of those people in detention, but this family, I think, as a bit of an emblem, they need to get out of detention immediately, because it is so harmful for Isabella and Huyen mentally. Today is World Suicide Prevention Awareness Day. Unfortunately, RAC is holding a vigil this afternoon because 3 asylum seekers or refugees in the last week in Australia on the mainland committed suicide in the last 2 weeks. We know that is a very, very serious threat to refugees in Australia's current regime, and we need to put a stop to that. So an urgent aim is to get them out of detention and to get them a permanent protection visa.
Absolutely. Can you just tell us the details of that event tonight, please, Lucy? It's 5:30, so get on the tram now.
Yeah. We're having it at the State Library, and it's a vigil for World Suicide Prevention Awareness Day, and Samantha Ratnam, leader of the Victorian Greens, and Nazir Yousafi, who's the president of the Victorian Afghan Association Network and Shamama Association, will be speaking. And it's to commemorate and mourn, but also protest the situation that has led to the suicides of three refugees in the last 2 weeks. One of them is Fasantha. He's a 45-year-old Tamil asylum seeker. He died 2 days after attempting to take his own life in a Brisbane hospital. Another is Hafiz, a 29-year-old asylum seeker who took his own life in Melbourne's southeast on the 25th of August, last Saturday. And the third man is Sarwan, a 22-year-old Iraqi refugee who died after he attempted to take his own life at Yonge Hill Detention Centre. Those 3 people are victims of Australia's detention and refugee regime.
And our deepest condolences go to all their families, wherever they may be.
Absolutely, yep.
It's approximately 4:46. Now, just one last thing, Lucy. just historically, and I think that the listeners do need to be aware of this, that the Catholic asylum seekers who were returned to Vietnam from Indonesia last year, they were harassed and arrested and threatened with imprisonment, weren't they?
Yeah, that's right. It's not well known, but there is quite a serious persecution, beatings of Catholic priests. There's been church burnings in one of the provinces that is near where Huyen is from. There are very serious, situations of persecution for Catholic asylum seekers, and deportations that have happened have led to persecution, intense persecution, and physical violence against Catholic Vietnamese asylum seekers. So Huyen has a very serious and real fear for her life in being returned to Vietnam. She really does not want to go back. That's, she said to me the other day that there's no way that she would last a year in Mita detention centre under the conditions that she's living in if she could go back to Vietnam and, try and sort this out and find a new way to meet up with Paul somewhere in the world. She would do that in an instant, but that's not what she's facing. She's facing danger and she is fearful for her life. So that asylum claim is a very, I think people need to understand that is a very serious claim.
And, we need to actually, in some ways, when we're campaigning, regardless of religion, whether it's Muslim, whether it's Catholic, she needs to stay here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
She needs to stay here. And, imagine that child not having access to food in there. How does she get all her milk, the formula?
Yeah, it's really distressing, actually. I was talking to Huyen the other day, and she was saying while she was pregnant, she was just really, really craving Vietnamese soup. I always say it wrong, but for and she would Google pictures of her, like, Vietnamese food while she was pregnant because she was craving it so much, and try and smell the screen because she was just so hungry. Yeah. She's breastfeeding at the moment, and she often can't eat the food that is served in Mita. She told me that there were maggots in it the other day. And as a result, it's, she's feeling like just appalled, like just disgusted by the food, I suppose, that so many people have commented on. And for a breastfeeding mother, that's really dangerous. So she wants to be breastfeeding Isabella much more, but she can't maintain, that situation given the poor quality and quantity of the food that's available. They are. It is really not the way that any individual or any mother should be treated, and any infant, for that matter. They should have access to all the maternal health, all the food, all the supports. If she didn't want to breastfeed, then the formula, whatever. Do you know what I mean? But that's not what's happening. It was only recently that she was allowed to attend, a mother's group, for example, to connect with other young mums and to, cross-reference what their experiences are and so on. And that took enormous amount of pressure. She hasn't been allowed out to baptise her child. These things are insane. She's just been left in a very isolated and dangerous situation.
Oh my goodness, Lucy! This stuff. There's a lot that we need to change, isn't there? There's
a lot, yeah. And I think there's a lot. I don't want to be too doom and gloom, because I think that there are a lot of people who are angry about this, and also a lot of Vietnamese ex-asylum seekers, people who have sought refuge in Australia and understand what Huyen has been through in a very visceral way, and hopefully we can tap into the Vietnamese community and the religious, the Christian and Catholic communities, and those different groups can come out and show support and build the momentum that we need to save, to stop this situation from recurring.
Absolutely. And just one last question. I used to go to Mita. I've been there a couple of times to visit, and we used to be allowed to bring food. I actually used to bring hot lentil soup into the facility. You're not allowed to do that anymore? I'll have to check.
Not allowed. No.
Nothing?
Unfortunately, you can't. No, it's so strict now. It's absolutely ridiculous.
What, not even bread? Yeah. Bread and dips? You can't do that either?
No. You can't bring things in. You can't bring phones in. You can't bring... you have to go through metal detectors. There are drug tests.
At Mita in Broadmeadows?
Yeah, that's right. You have to go in, put your applications in a week in advance.
Oh,
it's
my
really
God.
Serious security, and it really is just a performance of criminalisation of these people. It didn't, as you say, it didn't used to be like that at all. You just rock up and bring in and have a celebration and try and make it really relaxed. And no, it's not how it is anymore.
Oh, well, there's a lot to do. Lucy, thank you so much for coming onto the program, and I'm sorry, I know I kept you here a bit longer, but it was so important to have that extended discussion, wasn't it?
Thanks, Marisa. Yeah, it was great to talk to you.
Thanks a lot, and we'll try and get someone out from 3CR to record, although I may speak to you off air about that. I mean, do we need to ask permission for that?
I think that'd be great. Hopefully see you there and all your listeners too.
Good on you. Thanks a lot, Lucy. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And that was Lucy Honan from the Refugee Action Collective, speaking about the very horrific situation about Vietnamese asylum seeker who has been detained in Mita with her baby. I had no idea that you weren't allowed to bring food in and that you have to go through all these metal detectors. Yeah, so rock up to that meeting if you can in Footscray and show your support for this family, and her husband will be speaking there. It's approximately 4:53 and I'm going to be playing you an announcement now from ISJA.
The Indigenous Social Justice Association Melbourne is continuing its Stop Failing Our Kids campaign until this year's Victorian state election. We're asking people to sign an online petition and to send postcards to Premier Daniel Andrews, calling for his government to abandon plans to build a $288 million youth prison at Cherry Creek. We want that money directed to culturally appropriate programs to address the underpinning issues rather than incarcerating children. For more information and to sign the petition, visit ISJA Melbourne's Facebook page. Postcards are available at 3CR and locations listed at isjamelbourne.com. Premier, it's time your government stopped failing the kids. ISJA Melbourne is a 3CR supporter.
And you're back with the Doing Time show. And it's time that all politicians stop failing their kids, actually. We really need to stir things up a bit more here. It's approximately 4:54. We've got about 6 minutes left of our show. I just wanted to advertise the meeting again, the public meeting for the Vietnamese asylum seeker. It's Saturday the 22nd of September from 2 till 5 p.m. That's 3 hours. And it's at Footscray Arts Centre, and it's 45 Moreland St, Footscray, Victoria, Australia, 3011. And the speakers for that meeting is Paul Lee, Huwen's husband, Isabella's father, Hung Trung, Greens MLC for Western Melbourne, and Vietnamese asylum seeker Huwen is facing deportation and indefinite separation from her baby Isabella and husband Paul. And she's now in Mita Detention Centre with her daughter, and there are no legal barriers to her deportation. Her husband Paul, Isabella's father, must submit to drug tests, metal detectors and notoriously elaborate application forms to visit them after work each day. Isabella has inherited her father's 457 visa status. He is Mauritius Chinese, and if she is deported, Huwen would be indefinitely separated from her daughter and husband. Catholic asylum seekers who were returned to Vietnam from Indonesia last year were harassed, arrested and threatened with imprisonment. Government-led and government-sanctioned land confiscations, church burnings, violence and threats of torture continue against Catholics and other religious minorities in Vietnam. The UNHCR has just condemned Australia for separating a Sri Lankan refugee family where the father was deported, leaving the mother, an 11th-month-old baby, in Sydney. Minister for Home Affairs Peter Dutton has the power to grant her permanent protection so that she and Isabella are immediately released from detention and safely reunited in the community. It's approximately 4:56 and I've got about 1 minute before I'm out of here, and we'll be playing our theme song Black Fella, White Fella from the Rumpy Band with Beyond Zero up next. And just wanted to thank all our guests. Thank you very much to Sam from New South Wales, Meg from Queensland and Lucy from Victoria for coming in and sharing some very, very important material today. And stay tuned for the Doin' Time show every Monday from 4 to 5 p.m. for the Doin' Time show. And thanks to Rob for producing and for Peter for organising some of the interviews. Stay safe and look after each other. Going out now with our theme song.